G'day guys, it's Craig here from GABS Beer, Cider and Food Festival, and I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, Steve Jeffares. So listen, we're here to launch the GABS Hottest 100 Aussie Craft Beers poll. Voting is now open. You can head to gabsfestival.com, place your votes for your 5 favourite craft beers of the year, and you could win tickets for you and 10 mates to GABS in 2018, plus a lifetime membership to the Crafty Pints Crafty Cabal membership. Now Steve, thanks for joining me today. I wanted to just kind of pick your brain. I guess we're in the 10th anniversary of the Hottest 100 Craft Beers this year. I'd love for you to kind of take us back to where it all began. You might need the mic because we're very lo-fi here.
Lo-fi. Well, the local Taphouse opened almost 10 years ago, and very shortly after we opened, we came up with the idea of having a little fun thing between staff and customers where, like the Triple J 100, you voted for your 5, in our case, 5 favourite beers. And we created a very manual voting system and a very manual kind of poll, and we came up with a list of the hottest 100. And in those days, there weren't an awful lot of votes, and so we had lots of beers that came in equal position. But it grew very quickly, and then we enlisted the help of Brews News, Crafty Pints, and more recently Dan Murphy's. And then last year we got New Zealand involved, because GABS is now obviously New Zealand. And it's become this kind of this really cool thing where people around the country take 5 minutes, hopefully, some take longer, but generally just 5 minutes out of your day to vote for your 5 favourite beers of the year, and then we count them down on the 27th this year.
And you mentioned, I guess, the poll's now become this huge thing. It's sort of it now can really make or break a brewery, or it can certainly help in a brewery's fortunes. I guess tell me a bit more about not only the main Hottest 100 list, but also the sub lists that we produce. Like, what do they kind of mean?
Well, I don't think it breaks a brewery. Like, I think at the heart of all this is the fun of getting involved. We don't take it too seriously, and we don't encourage other people or brewers to take it too seriously. On the flip side, it can have a positive impact on a brewer, and we've seen that most recently with Pirate Life. And there's that story of MC, or Michael Cameron from Pirate Life, telling us that they got about 280 new accounts from that on the back of their fantastic first appearance in the poll. But to answer your question, about 2 years ago, we recognised that there was a growing interest in those beers in the list that were by independent brewers, as defined by the Independent Brewers Association, as it's now called. And so we came up with basically a filtered list of the hottest indie beers of the year, and the hottest new beers, which are those that are brewed for the first time in that year. And then last year, I think it was, we introduced for the first time what you've called the hottest next beers, I think it is. Hot's Next 100, which are those beers from 101 to 200, because we want to see more of those. We want to give those smaller brewers an opportunity to make the list, because obviously there is an argument that wide distribution matters, and we want more people to be we want more brewers to be on the list.
Yeah, good one. I think this year we've seen a huge response from the brewing industry. We put the call out to brewers to nominate their beers. Every beer they've basically sold that year, whether it's the smallest batch sold just over the brewpub bar, or one of their core range in keg, bottle or can. This year we've got, I think, over 1,500 beers to choose from. Can you tell us more just about, I guess, some of the styles and trends and things that you're seeing coming through in the list this year?
Well, the main one is obviously New England style hazy IPAs is the one that we've added a new style. Sour beers are becoming more popular, and now I think we've got a category Australian sour or wild ales. So they're the sort of trends, but I'd be very surprised if hoppy beers don't dominate again. That's certainly what Australian consumers, beer consumers, enjoy most. But every year it's kind of been the poll results have given us a fantastic insight, not only to the hottest brewers, whatever that means, and hottest beers, whatever that means, but there has been it gives a really helpful and I think genuine insight into what are the general trends in the brewery, not just in beers and beer styles, but also the brewers.
You mentioned sort of independence and ownership. I think this has definitely been a big topic of conversation in the beer world this year. We've seen a huge amount of changes in ownership structures with big craft brewers being bought out. I guess, do you think that will influence the poll at all? What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, listen, time will tell. When I did an interview with Crafty yesterday, we were talking about how many in the top 20 last year compared to this year, and how many of those are no longer no longer independent. I don't know what the number is. I think it's 10 or 12 of the 20. Time will tell. I'm really like, obviously there is a vocal minority out there on the Facebook who burn up the keyboards with when a brewery sells. Whether that translates with the tens of thousands of voters who vote each year in this poll, I don't really know. But I'd certainly like to see a bit of a shake-up anyway. I think the brewers, as new brewers come out and new breweries, new beers, new breweries, I think that there'll be a few surprises this year certainly in the top end of the list.
Yeah, good one. I'll be following that one closely. I think just while we're talking about ownership, obviously we're sitting today in Stomping Ground Brewing Co., which is your new brewery. You've now got the pub, got the festival, tick the box of the brewery, but you've made the decision not to enter the Stomping Ground beers into the Hottest 100. I guess why was that decision made?
Listen, we've had lots of discussions about it between Guy, myself, and Justin. We'd love to be on the list because we know the impact it can have, and we think we'd like to think that our beers, if not this year in time, would deservedly be on there. There are not many beers, and certainly the top 100, that don't package, and we don't even package yet. So, but given the fact that we've run the poll for so long, I think it makes it hard at this point for us to be included. We certainly have had discussions about whether we maybe outsource the running of the poll, a bit like the Brownlow, where we might get people on the 27th of January coming in with suitcases handcuffed to their wrists with the results, and it's being completely operated externally. But that's an ongoing discussion. But at this point, we just felt it was the right thing to do.
It wasn't because you just rigged the hell out of it, or? Look, I think just one last question, I guess. So when we release the results for the Aussie Craft Beer poll on the 27th of January, on the same day as the Triple J Hottest 100 Countdown. How can people get involved on the day to celebrate the countdown with us?
Well, there are events that we run at the local Taphouse, which we've run every year with Pete Mitchum hosting. But over the last 4 or 5 years, we've had lots of venues that have a craft beer focus, if you like, all over the country, having their own events, often tying them in with the Triple J countdown. We also have the Radio Brews News podcast, which has become a bit of an institution every year, and they get brewers on and have a chat. We usually have a quick hello at the beginning as well before we go into our bunker to announce the results. But I think this year there's going to be more venues participating in that and getting on board. But the fact that it remains aligned with the Triple J countdown, I think works for us because without being political for a minute, I think that it's important. It's always been about counting down the hottest 100 beers and whilst listening to the Triple J. So I'm glad that that's going to continue.
Yeah, cheers, Steve. I think head to the website. You can check out where we're going to be hosting those countdown events all around the country. Steve, one last question. What would your 5 favourite craft beers be outside of Stomping Ground? Because obviously you can't vote for those.
Golly, I need a few more minutes, I think, to do that. But I think golly, yeah, it's my British kind of heritage. Golly gosh. Listen, I certainly haven't tried as many beers as I would normally do. When we had the top tap house, and that's where we were based, we got to try lots of different beers, obviously. But at GABS, I don't get to try too many beers, sadly, and I don't get out as much as I used to. But I think what Three Ravens are doing with their juicy range is just fantastic. I'm also partial to friends of mine down at Bad Shepherd and Wolf of the Willows and Fixation. So I definitely tend towards the hoppier beers, but I will certainly take a few more minutes before I vote to think about which ones. But I'm a big fan of what is happening here in Victoria, and I think the standard generally across the board is really ramping up. I think we've got such great brewers and beers coming out. It's fantastic.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Steve. And I think we've done this passing the microphone thing back really well, and it's been uncomfortably awkward sitting so close to you, but that's okay. We're all friends here, and now it's time. It's your turn to vote. Head to gabsfestival.com, vote for your 5 favourite beers, and have some fun with it.